Well, hello, I am out in the garden and I'm actually really excited. We're still having unseasonably warm weather in Iowa, and that means I have a lot of days where I can pack in a lot of work and get some spring things done. Even though it feels like summer, I'm getting spring work done. And today's gonna start with some spring annuals that I'm gonna actually plant. Usually I don't put a lot of cool season or spring early annuals in. I usually just wait and get out my agave and all my succulents more in May, but I always like to have a couple cheery colors up by the front door. And since we just painted those cast iron urns the other week in a previous video, I decided let's pot them up with something fun. So I have here some beautiful yellow begonias, I have some pansies, have some lobelia, and we're gonna pot that up, which I just think will look really good on my front porch. I'll get to enjoy it. Anyone that comes over will get to enjoy it. And then I have a few more garden things we're gonna do. I thought we could actually start by going out. I have a boxwood that needs to be replaced, and I'd like to transplant a different boxwood into its place. So I thought we could go through all of that, but really the beginning is gonna be some cheery color because it just makes us feel good, right? So let's go get planting. So we are gonna be working on my front porch. I have my coffee with me. I hope you guys have yours too. And if you remember the other video, we actually painted these with spray paint. I have not painted these smaller ones yet. I just recently got a pair of these small ones. It's kind of hard to find small ones with the stands. So those haven't been painted yet, but I do have two of them. So we're gonna be working with these antique urns that I painted, and I did pretty much just top them off with some good organic potting soil just to get it going. Now, these are somewhat shallow pots, so you have to think about that. They also don't have drainage. The spigot on them does not work. So you only wanna water, as needed. I do have them underneath my front porch roof, so they won't get rainwater, so that way I will control the water. I did already plant up one of them, as you can see. So now all I have to do is do one. Now, for spring pots like this, I pack them full because they're only gonna be sitting here about a month, and then I'll reuse some of the items in other containers where I have more long season items, and I'll kind of take them apart and put some different things up here. So these are just those early spring annuals that can take some cool weather, not sub temperatures here, but just a little bit. So I'm gonna be using some different begonias. I really like the yellow color of the beautiful Rebecca. I just think it's such a beautiful bright yellow, but it also has those tinges of pink. I'm gonna offset it with just one of this. Don't you love this? This reminds me a lot of a hellebore, but it's not. It's actually just the same begonia. You can see it right here, and it's a Valentino white. And what I love is it has those tinges of pink in the back again, which I think is so pretty, and it really offsets with that yellow center. It really just goes together with that yellow begonia too. And then I'm gonna mix it in with some beautiful yellow and purple pansies, which, you can't go wrong with these. Look how happy, pansies are just happy. So then I'm gonna put those in, and you can see that I'm going to just kind of offset them, kind of cluster the begonias in the back with some pansies in front, and then the lobelia is right here. And what I have for this is a large hanging pot of lobelia that I broke apart into 4 different plants. That's usually how hanging pots are, especially when you can buy some type of filler annual in them. They're really easy to break apart, which I love, because then you have really filled in big plants to plant. So let's get going. Like I said, I don't often do a lot of spring annuals, but it's just because I don't want to waste the annual. So in this case, I am going to reuse these in other places when I do take them out, even though we're 80 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Our lows right now are really nice and warm too, but we are getting back down into like the 32 or below coming up. So I do have to watch that, and that's why I'm doing these up close to the house, where they can not only be enjoyed, but also be protected. And also, these all can take a little bit cooler weather, and I think they'll be fine. But then when I want to put my more traditional summer things here, like I have a lot of tropicals I bring out, I will switch these and put these in other containers, maybe on the back patio, things like that. This is the south side, so even though it's under a front porch, it will get a lot of bright light, but it won't get any direct sunlight. So with these, since it's just gonna be a short-term container like this, I pot them really full. That to me is what you do. So I'm gonna pot them full so they look good right away. That way, when we actually go to see it when it's done, it's gonna look all filled in and perfect. So this lobelia, I'm really taking the roots apart because look how, this was all in one container. So I got 4 of this size plant out of one container, which to me is the best way just to really be able to fill in. Where I live, I don't feel like in early spring I can find a lot of annuals that have big size to them. So this is such a nice way to be able to do it. The pansies here, we all know, cool season loving pansies. And they're so easy and fun to use. They probably will fill in quite a bit here in the next month, but then they don't do well in Iowa. Depending where you live, you can actually keep pansies for quite a while, sometimes all through the summer. In Iowa, our heat usually diminishes the pansies and they just can't take it. Even if they're in more shade, they just don't like it. So you really have to kind of choose and know where you're gonna go with your pansies to make sure they last long. So as you can see, I'm just stuffing them in right here, and you can see the colors I'm picking. We got the yellow to go with the yellow begonia. They also have that purple to give them more of that bright pop of color. It all kind of melts together. Now, if you know me or follow me for a while, you also know I'm not usually someone, and a lot of people will notice this, that I don't usually pick a lot of color in my containers. Usually during the summer, I love more texture, structure, anything like that. But when it comes to spring, early spring annuals, I do love the color. So I'm gonna take this last lobelia, and you can see instantly, look how this just fills in. I think I'm so lucky that I can get the lobelia to fill in like that and just have it be right on the sides. So then what I do wanna do is make sure, since I'm planting them so tight, I wanna make sure there's no air pockets or anything with the soil. So I'll take some more all-purpose soil here and just make sure I get in around all those plants. You wanna make sure their roots are protected with soil. You don't want them exposed. They'll dry out much quicker. You wanna make sure they're well planted. But now we have these gorgeous pots. Now, usually you would think I'd want something much more high and tall here, but in early spring we have a lot of wind, and this is my south side where the brunt of the wind can come, and it can really push certain plants here. So I leave my height for summer, and in spring I like to go something a little bit lower so it can be more all weather. So I just need to water it and then we'll be done. I will never understand anyone that can keep it completely clean with soil when they're planting. I made a mess, so I always just get my blower out and I just blowed all that soil off into the flower beds. But now I'm just gonna water it. And again, I water these just enough. Since they don't have drainage, they don't need to be overwatered. You just wanna make sure they are on the south side. So like I said, on windy days and warm days like today, obviously watering is gonna be more of a key to watch. On other days, they'll retain their water pretty well since they're in so much shade. But when you step back, look how fun these look. Now the lobelia